no one wants to let their best friend down. No one wants to let their family members down. No one wants to let their favorite coworkers down. And so if you're a leader or a boss and you want to create an environment of accountability for your team members, what I do for my system is I start a group program and I have everyone put money into a pot that scares them a little bit. Because obviously, if you put in $1 or maybe even $100, you're like, okay, yeah, I can lose $100 because I don't want to do my work today. You know, I'm tired. I'm in a bad mood. The weather's off, blah, blah, blah. But if it's an amount of money that scares you a little bit, you're going, okay, I think I'm going to take this a little bit more seriously now.
We talk a lot about leadership. We talk a lot about how to motivate your people, how to retain your people, how to engage them. But one of the things that we often don't hear a lot about is how do we hold our people accountable? Sure, we've got scorecards and metrics and other things that we can use to measure and to manage their process, but how do we really get them to take action and do it well? Today's guest is an expert in accountability and not only how you can hold yourself accountable, but hold your team accountable by gamifying the process. So get ready to take some notes as we dig into accountability with your team with Andrew Weiss. Hey, Andrew, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for hosting. I'm excited to be here.
You know, we got to spend a little bit of time talking before this, and we're going to talk about something today that I'm really excited about. It's not something that I had a lot of subject matter experts on this. But one of the things that you spend a lot of time in your leadership development training is talking about accountability. So when it comes to accountability, what's that myth, that misbelief, that thing that you know that people believe about accountability that you're like, you're wrong, it's not true? What is that thing?
Yeah, I'm gonna die on this hill that you don't need to be the only one holding yourself accountable. And that it is very powerful for other people to hold you accountable too. And actually, from a human psychology perspective, it's been shown and proven again and again. You might think that you're super fast if you're riding a bike up a hill and going, oh my gosh, I'm putting all my effort in, I got this. But if there's other people riding that bike with you and they're going just a little bit faster than you, you're going to kick up your speed into another gear and you're going to go even faster than what you thought is possible. So that's why I believe in group accountability of other people supporting each other, challenging each other, having healthy competition. And those are the programs that I lead when it comes to making everyone better.
I love that. I just heard someone tell me that you can take one employee and put them in two different companies or on two different teams, and they will perform completely different based on the level at which the team is performing. So what you're saying is if you can create a system of accountability, a group of people who are all holding themselves accountable, it raises the bar for everybody. Is that right?
100%. And it goes back to what Jim Rohn says, that you are who you spend time with. Mm-hmm. And so if you're spending time with people who are just kind of going, we'll see what I could do, I'm just going to put in the minimum effort, we'll see what happens, there's a good chance that that's going to be your default brain going, oh, okay, I can put the minimum effort. But if you're in a culture and a system of people who are like, we're going above and beyond, we're hitting the marks and then one and keep going past that, then you're going to be in that kind of environment. It'll force you to push you to be better, faster, stronger. And that's what I advocate for.
So I'm thinking of two scenarios here, and I'd love for you to either break them down separately or tell me how they're not different at all. But I'm thinking as an entrepreneur, I've got two areas where I see accountability either being a problem or something that I need to enact inside the business. One is, how do I get my people, the people below me, the people actually doing the work, how do I get them to hold themselves accountable and to be accountable? So I've got the people that report to me, the people that are making it happen. But then I've also got myself and I've got my other leaders or maybe even peers within my community, other entrepreneurs. How do we hold ourselves accountable? Are those distinctly different or are they the same? And what is it that we can do in each side of those groups to help with accountability?
Yeah, so when it comes to accountability, the purpose is you want to work with people who you trust, who you respect, who you listen to, and who you will actually follow the instructions of. Like if you come across a random person on the street and they're like, all right, Ryan, I'm going to hold you accountable now. You're like, F off. Like, I don't, so what? I don't care. But if it's like one of your best friends or your family members and you know that your respect is on the line, that the love is on the line, and that might be harsh a little bit, but like no one wants to let their best friend down. No one wants to let their family members down. No one wants to let their favorite coworkers down. And so if you're a leader or a boss and you want to create an environment of accountability for your team members, what I do for my system is I start a group program and I have everyone put money into a pot that scares them a little bit. Because obviously, if you put in $1 or maybe even $100, you're like, okay, yeah, I can lose $100 because I don't want to do my work today. I'm tired, I'm in a bad mood, the weather's off, blah, blah, blah. But if it's an amount of money that scares you a little bit, you're going, okay, I think I'm going to take this a little bit more seriously now. And so if you have, let's say, 5, 10 people put $1,000 into a pot, that's 10 grand in a pot. And if you make consistent progress towards your goals, you're going to be successful whether you want to or not. And of course, you have to go above and beyond to make sure you're actually doing intention with that consistent progress. For a basketball analogy, let's say I say go to the gym and do 100 free throws. You can't just go to the gym and then chuck the ball at the hoop and say, "Oh, I did 100 free throws." It's like, no, I actually made sure I had the right form, I had the right follow through, I had the right release. How many swishes did I get out of those 100 shots? So if you're intentional with your actions, doing consistency every single day, you will make a lot of progress. And the reason why that consistent progress is so important is because tasks can be overwhelming all the time. It's so overwhelming to say, build a company, scale a company, write a book, publish an online course. And you're going, oh, I don't know how to do all that. I can't figure that out. But if you break it down into smaller tasks and saying, you know what, I'm just going to spend 30 minutes a day on writing 2 pages for my book I want to publish. I'm going to spend 30 minutes per day recording 2 videos for an online course I want to create. Your brain goes, oh, I can do that. And then, of course, 30, 60, 90 days later, you have a book on your hands. You have a course on your hands. You've done 100 sales calls and you've converted more of them than you ever would before. So that's part of when you set up programs, it's like making sure the incentive is strong enough, there's healthy competition, everyone's supporting each other, that it makes sense how you're making consistent progress towards your goals. And then for yourself, yeah, there are some similarities. And it goes back to when you set the program for other people, you might have to have someone else, either you or someone else that they trust and admire, hold them accountable versus who can hold you accountable. Who can make you stronger, bigger, faster. You don't want to let down. So you set up for yourself, make sure you find someone that you can rely on that will say, no, Ryan, no matter how hard you work today, no matter how much you want to slack off, I'm not going to give you this deposit back until you've shown you can make consistent progress that's intentional towards your goals for a certain period of time.
That reminds me of I just learned about Mr. Beast, Jimmy Donaldson's his bet with his buddy on working out every day. And whoever misses a day of working out has to get the other person's name tattooed somewhere visibly on their body. Like, talk about some accountability. Like, that's perfect. And I heard that they're up to like 300 days in a row. And I mean, Jimmy's completely transformed his body doing this. And I've seen the transformation because I love watching his videos, but that's some serious accountability. That's more than cash. But when you're a billionaire or close to being a billionaire, the money is, I mean, just there's play money at that point. But getting someone's name tattooed on your wrist or something or on your neck is a big deal.
Yep.
So when we start talking about this accountability, I imagine that there's levels of it. So you had talked about being intentional and reminded me of that phrase, practice doesn't make perfect. Perfect practice makes perfect. Like, you have to be intentional. You have to do the right things correctly. Like, you can't even do the right things incorrectly. You have to do them correct. But I imagine that there's levels of this. So let's break down that team environment. So I'm an entrepreneur and I'm thinking I've got a team of people that if I could just get them to do X, or if I could just get them to focus on Y. But for whatever reason, I'm struggling. Maybe it's in my communication. Maybe it's in the team that we built. Give me an example, like a real life example. You've got cash, but I don't know if I can go to my team and say, all right, everybody's putting money in the pool. I don't even know if that's legal in some areas. Like, help break that down for me.
Yeah. So let's say you feel like your sales team needs to make more sales calls and they need to be able to do more work of putting in more outreach. And you say, okay, let's say that the goal for this week is to do 100 sales calls Monday through Friday. That's about 20 sales calls per day. And so obviously there's 8 hours in the day. I don't know how long the workday might be for someone. Some people it's 4 hours. Some people it's 10 hours. But let's say for an 8-hour workday, you would say, okay, every day from 12 p.m. to 2 p.m., we're going to do those sales calls. And we're going to be tracking each other. We'll be holding each other accountable. We're going to be reviewing, constantly getting better and better. And the incentive is if you don't do the sales calls, like you said, it doesn't have to be a money incentive. Obviously, a lot of people are motivated by money, but not everyone is. Well, let's say everyone is motivated by money. And so the beauty of it is when all the money is in the pot, let's say 10 people putting $1,000 in the pot, and then someone doesn't do the work, the incentive is the other person's going to get the money from the pot from the person who didn't do the work. So you get your $1,000 back plus another portion of the money for someone who didn't do the work. Now, because everyone's thinking that way, everyone is going, well, I don't want to lose my $1,000 and I want the opportunity to get that $1,000 from someone else. So I'm going to put in the work because human momentum, like human motivation is so fluid. There are some days you're like, I can take on the world. I got this. Let's make this happen. And there's some days you're like, I don't want to get out of bed. No one can tell me anything. And so having that, like you said, external accountability going, it really is useful. It really is beneficial. And yeah, and going back to like, for the Mr. Beast guy, it wasn't just that one thing you mentioned, we're getting the tattoo on his body as an incentive. Like he's done other things too. Like you have to shave your head. You have to cover yourself in tar and feathers and dance on the freeway. Like, and of course, the point of the accountability is that saying no to the actions you're committed to shouldn't even be an option. Like there's no question in the world. You should be in the mindset that, like, let's say, for example, you're the cookie monster and you're obsessed with eating cookies and you just like love the delicious taste of chocolate chip cookies and you love it so much. If accountability is in place properly, you could put yourself in a room full of the most freshly baked, freshly smelling cookies and going, oh, these smell amazing. I want to have some so badly from my favorite restaurant, favorite bakery, whatever. But you could put yourself in a room full of those and they still wouldn't even be an option for you. You'd be like, nope, not worth tarring and feathering myself down and dancing on the freeway. not even close to it. Or no, it's not worth gaining an extra 5 pounds that I promised myself I was going to lose for the past 5 years. So it really is an incredible, powerful exercise. And of course, the way habits are formed is that if you do something long enough, it becomes permanently part of your brain. And I don't know about you, but brushing my teeth every day, it's not an option whether I do it or not. Like, yeah, maybe I'm on a trip or camping, I forget my toothbrush, but even then, I'll still grab some toothpaste and rub it on my finger and make it happen. So that's the point, is to help create new habits for long term as well.
So I'm thinking about this example, and you gave the example of salespeople, which most salespeople are motivated by money. So at least good ones are. So that's easy. But when I'm thinking about just general workers, one of the things that we coach our clients on is to incentivize with vacation days. Not all frontline employees get vacation days. Like PTO is something that they really value. And so what you're saying is, instead of saying, okay, we have this contest and it's, you get 3 vacation days if you succeed, you get 3 if you succeed, you get 3 if you succeed. If you've got 3 people on the team, there's 9 vacation days up for grab. Like they're yours to lose now by not doing it. You think you're saying is more motivational than saying, hey, you could get 3, you could get 3, you could get 3. You're saying if you come out on top and you do this, sure, you could all still get 3, but one of you could get 6. Now all of a sudden I'm like, wait a minute, I'm not going to lose it. And it creates a little bit more of that competition as well, which most people are motivated in a competitive space, which is, to your point, we level up to the people we hang out with. I love that. It's like a shift on the way we motivate people to do things, and say it's yours to lose, not it's yours to gain. So in that goes back to the carrot and stick. And we know about this. We've read about the carrot and stick and motivation. Dan Peek's book, I've read it. His premise is we're not really in the carrot and stick place anymore, but there's still a place for that. Like people are still motivated carrot and stick, but people would rather give up the idea of gaining something than give up the idea of losing something.
Yeah.
It kind of goes back to that principle that pain is more motivational than gain.
Yes.
Removing the pain is more motivational.
Yeah.
That's some great ideas. So how do I do that as an entrepreneur? It's one thing for me to go to my team and create this little gamification of making sure that things happen. But if I'm at the top of the organization, it's kind of tough for the team to say, hey, we're going to take something away from you. So how does that work? Do we do it as a peer of entrepreneurs? Is there ways for me to even do that by myself?
Correct.
And hold myself accountable? Help me explore that a little bit.
As an entrepreneur, it goes back to, you want to find something.
Stop turning away work, burning out your team, and working so hard. Learn about the proven process that businesses everywhere are using to save time, save money, and hire all the people they need. We'll train your team to implement and run this process in-house so you can grow as fast as you want. Book a call with our team at corematters.com.
Someone that you trust, that you respect, that you know that you don't want to let down. And of course, if you don't feel like you have anyone, I'm happy to have a conversation with you about me being that guy to say, no, I will hold you accountable. I will hold your feet to the fire. I do want to see you succeed. And let's put the right incentives in place to make sure that happens. Like you said, as an entrepreneur, whether you're motivated by money, you're like, I've wanted to write this book for 10 years. I haven't written a book yet. I got to make this happen finally. Or as an entrepreneur, you're like, I need to create this online course. Or I know if I were to make 20 sales calls per day, which I haven't done in 3 years, I'd be 10 times more successful, essentially. So that's the first step, is figuring out what's the end goal you want, whether it's book, course, more sales, a better website, blah, blah, blah. Figuring out how to break it down into smaller tasks, and then finding someone who can hold you accountable, who you respect and trust, and that you don't want to let down. So that's how I would approach that. And obviously taking it very seriously, signing contracts, being able to offer something like, it goes back to the incentives, making sure they're there, and then signing a contract to show that everyone is serious about it. And this is happening. And failure is not an option because accountability is in place.
So I could see doing that with peers. But as you were talking, I was also thinking, like, I could get my kids in on this.
Mm-hmm.
And they could be like, Daddy, what's going on? Did you get that done today?
Yeah.
And like for my kids, something that's very motivational is, hey, we're going to go to the zoo this weekend, but only if Daddy does this and this. And so when they come in like, Daddy, I want to play. I'm like, well, we're not going to the zoo this weekend because I haven't done this. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to leave you alone. Go get your stuff done. I love that. That idea of just almost making a game out of it, but there's something tangible really at stake, not just this idea of this nebulous thing in the future that I might be able to get someday. I actually am losing something by not doing it. I mean, to me, that's a mindset shift. It's just a different way of me thinking about it. So I'm sure our listeners are thinking, okay, some different ways here. Let's talk about a couple of specific examples. You had mentioned making 20 sales calls a day. You had mentioned some other examples of things to do, creating the course, writing the book, so on and so forth. I'm sitting here thinking, I already work 75 hours a week. I already have a full schedule plus. I still want to spend time with my family. Like, how do I create some margin, create some time, knowing that most entrepreneurs are already working way too many hours? We're already doing way too many things. How do we create that space to go do these things? Because it's one thing to create the game and hold myself accountable to it. But if I don't physically have the time to do it, how do I make that happen?
Oh, I love this conversation because as humans, what's beautiful about life is that we get to create time. We decide what time goes where, how it's used, blah, 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 all that. And I kind of touch on what you said earlier about the gamification about things, is that if something's not fun, what's the point? And so how can we make things fun wherever we can? How can we make it exciting and make it more fun? I'm going to keep saying that again and again, because obviously I'm a big advocate for fun, and goal setting should be fun. Accountability can be fun with healthy competition, all that. So when it comes to creating time, a classic example I love is, let's say, yeah, Andrew, I'm working 80, 100 hours a week. I don't have time for anything. And I would say, okay, so you're telling me if a knife landed in your arm, God forbid, there was blood spurting everywhere, you need to go to the hospital, you'd be like, yeah, sorry, I don't have time to go to the hospital, and I might die, but it's okay because I have to get this project done right now, and I have to take on this client meeting, and it's okay if I die. I'm okay with that. Like, hopefully that's not the case.
It's amazing how our priorities could change in that moment.
Exactly. So it goes back to, we create time, we decide the priorities. And I think that's another example of a good goal you can set for yourself, is that you're like, you know what, I'm working 75 hours per week, and I want to create time to figure out how can I work only 50 hours per week, only 40 hours per week, only 30 hours per week, and really set that goal for yourself. So by creating time, let's say you're a single parent with 3 kids, and you only have like 1 or 2 hours in the morning for like your morning routine, for settling down for bed. Like I said, even just spending 20, 30 minutes every day, 4 or 5 times a week, that's at least 2 hours per week. That's at least 8 hours per month, figuring out how can I be more productive? How can I be better at outsourcing? How can I be better about automation and using AI to help make it so I don't have to do as many tasks as I've been spending so much time on? So when it comes to working too much and figuring out how to create time for things, we can always create time. And that's the beauty of life, is there's so many hours in a day, so many weeks in a month, months in a year, years in a decade. I can go on, but just reminding yourself you can create time and you're in charge.
Yeah, it's something that I've really been thinking a lot about lately. Is Elon Musk has the same amount of time that I do. Yep. We're not that far off in age, but the size of our net worths and our bank accounts are universally distant. And he does it at the same amount of time. He just uses it differently. And so I do think that we have that. You'd mentioned AI, and AI is a big thing right now. Everybody's talking about AI. For some of those out there that are building AI, go watch Terminator. Yeah, keep that in mind. But AI is really helping people become more productive, do things faster. And I know that you get into some ways on how to automate some of our work using AI. Now, my belief, and feel free to challenge me on this, my belief is AI is not at the point where it's replacing us yet. It still needs a human touch. It still needs someone to tell it what to do. If you're going to make it do blog articles for you or write podcast episodes for you, read them before you hit record, those kinds of things. But I do know that we are using some AI in some of the work that we do just to help us, especially with the creative side of things. We need help brainstorming. Like, we're stuck. What are some new ideas? We're using AI for those kinds of things, but that's not helping me work faster. That's not automating anything. Talk to me a little bit about what are you seeing in the automation space that you're talking to business leaders about so that they can free up the time to focus on these projects and these things that are really important?
Yeah, so I've been specializing in helping people with podcast production using AI and how to really simplify that process. And so some of the tools I've found are, it could take a lot of work, for example, to put your show notes together and figure out, oh gosh, I got to put in the links, I got to put in the summaries, I got to put in the keynotes, I got to figure out what are the best quotations from the episode, how can I make that happen? What if I told you that AI can do all that for you? And so I use a tool called Cast Magic, and I found it on the AppSumo store. It was like $40 for a lifetime deal, because I don't know about you, but
you and me both.
Yeah, because it's like paying the monthly subscriptions, just like, I'm done with those. That's one and done. And for those listening in, I think currently it's competitions called Pod Notes on AppSumo you can get if you don't want to pay monthly subscriptions to Cast Magic. And then I also, being a video creator on Riverside, I also use video.ai, VIDYO.ai. And it's super cool to help create highlight clips from your episode, because it can be a lot of time and a lot of money to hire a video editor to create, at the 15-minute mark, the 16-minute mark, there's this great quote, but video.ai helps do that for you. And so for those, because the top challenge about AI as well is like, people get scared to use it. They think, like you said, the Terminator example, like, if I use AI, then I'm contributing to it taking over the world. And the reality is that AI is just a product of what we put into it, of what we create. And a classic example is that there was this hiring algorithm that was created, and they tried to use it on a company, and they discovered that it was hiring mostly men and leaving out women. And they're going, what the heck? What's going on here? And they figured out that that algorithm was taking from the Amazon algorithm, and they got caught for being biased towards only hiring men. And so they're like, okay, crap, we got to adjust this and readjust it essentially. So the answer is, if you want to really help the AI revolution, take part in it, be a part of it. That way it can help put out what you put into it, and you can help influence it. I love the quote too. I forget who said it, but it's like, AI is not going to take over the world. The people who know how to use AI are going to take over the world. And I really encourage people to dive in and test it out and try it out and just figure out what works for them, what doesn't work. And if you're like, gosh, I wish this was automated. I was hosting another guy on my podcast last week, and he was talking about how it's not necessarily going to replace jobs. It's going to make people more effective, more productive, and help you do more work in less time. Yes, some jobs might be replaced in that process, but jobs get replaced all the time. I mean, the other classic example is there was an ice business at one point that had 60,000 employees, all delivering ice to people. Now we have freezers and fridges for that, and those 60,000 people are probably doing something else to contribute to society in a different way. Evolution's good, innovation's good, technology is good, and you might as well use the tools that are available to you.
Well, and we work with a lot of people in the trades, and as you've probably heard, the trades are serious labor shortage. It's not like there's something you can go do and tomorrow there's people now in the trades. Like, they need skills and training and everything else. It takes years, and we're starting to see some AI tools come out. But one thing you said got me thinking I really liked was, find the one thing in your business that's taking time that you think this could be automated. Like, there's got to be a way to automate this, and go look for a tool that does that. Because Cast Magic, it does a very little sliver of helping you with the podcast. Video, very little sliver of helping you with video production. It's not this be all end all, you just feed something in and it takes care of it. It solves a very specific time consuming problem that a lot of people have. And so that to me was a big standout moment, was what's the one thing that you're doing that takes a lot of time that you could probably automate? There's someone that I just met, had him on the podcast. He's actually developing an AI bot that can actually read through all of your service manuals and everything and help people troubleshoot basic problems that would normally a customer service rep would have to deal with. And so the bot can help with that before it even gets to the customer service rep. So now your customer service reps can spend more time on things like relationships and spending time nurturing people and maybe even upselling people, although bots are working on that too. But find that one little thing, that little sliver. You've got two things. Number one, sound like a wealth of knowledge when it comes to this automation and accountability stuff. So I want you to let people know how they can get a hold of you. But secondly, you also have a giveaway regarding automating using AI. So tell our listeners about that.
Yeah, so I've created a training on how you can save days each month using AI with using automation and helping you to be more efficient with your work. And so that complimentary training you can find at subscribepage.com/driven. And once you put in your name and email, you'll get the assignment on how I go about editing episodes to help you figure out, once you do an episode, how to publish and promote it very easily, to do it in like a tenth of the time you normally do. So once again, that training is subscribepage.com/driven. And then as far as getting a hold of me, you can find me on social media platforms, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, the Andrew J. Weiss, Weiss is how you spell Weiss. I'd love to connect with you and see how I can best serve you. And if you're an email kind of person, my email is andrew@weisswisdom.com.
Andrew, and you are full of wisdom. So thank you for that. Thank you for being on the show today. I've really enjoyed it. I know there's some great nuggets in here that our listeners will be able to implement in their business right away.
Of course. That's what I'm here for.